What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be discussing the basics of photography, specifically for brand owners who want to go from shooting their product and lifestyle shots on an iPhone to a DSLR or some type of mirrorless camera and avoid hiring someone like myself to do it for you. So if you already know photography, this video is not for you. I don't want any duh in the comments.
No sensei.
This video is specifically for people who maybe have picked up a camera and want to learn a little bit more about the tool in order to actually have their ideas materialize onto the image. So the most important thing about photography is, one, composition, but we're going to be discussing the exposure triangle today, plus a little bit of white balance. So we're gonna hop into Lightroom and I'm gonna show you exactly what the exposure triangle is and what each element of the exposure triangle accomplishes. So the first point of the exposure triangle that we're going to discuss is the aperture. What does the aperture do? It controls your depth of field. In other words, how much of the image is in focus. So say you want a lifestyle image where the model's in focus, but the background is blurred. You're going to want to choose a lower number on the aperture. When you choose a lower number on the aperture, the diaphragm blades are opening up wide. For example, this image right here was shot at f1.8. As you can see, the first piece of paper is in focus and everything else behind it is out of focus. In this next image, I shoot it at f8.0. You can see more of the stacks of paper coming into focus as we start to go higher in the numbers and close down those diaphragm blades. And you can see here finally at f22 that the majority of the image is in focus. Shoot your products at f8.0 and stop thinking about it, basically. Okay, the next point on the triangle is the ISO. What does the ISO do? It increases the sensor sensitivity to light. So if you are shooting in a darker environment and you've maxed out how wide you want to open your aperture to let light in, but you need to make your image brighter, you want to increase the ISO. But there is a caveat.
No, God, please, no!
As you increase your ISO, the image becomes more grainy, and I will show you right here. This image right here was shot at ISO 200. As you can see, we can raise the shadows, we can raise the contrast, we can raise the brightness, and the image stays decently clean. You can even show with the clarity here. And you start to see just a small little bit of grain in this leather chair behind, but it's really not that bad. Next, we're gonna bump up to ISO 800. You will start to see the grain coming in a little bit, but it's still pretty clean. By the way, this was shot on a Canon 5D Mark IV, and each camera handles ISO a little bit differently. The newer cameras are handling it much better than the older cameras. But let's see if we can bump up the clarity. Yes, so you can start to see the grain coming in right here. Let's bump all the way up to, this one was shot at, for a good example, this one is shot at ISO 25,600. So in this image, you can really start to see the grain. So you can see it all here, all here.
Brother,
you know, you should be using your ISO. Typically, I will add a little bit of grain to my images to add a little bit of mood. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is something to keep in mind. And the final point of the exposure triangle is shutter speed. What does shutter speed do? It controls motion. The faster your shutter speed is, the more efficiently you can crystallize that object in motion. So for example, say you want to get a picture of one of your models walking in the garment and you want to freeze them in the frame with no motion blur. You are going to want a faster shutter speed. By the way, quick note, those numbers in your shutter speed are representing the fraction of a second. So if it's 1/400, that's 1/400th of a second. If it's 1/25, that's 1/25th of a second. 1/4, a quarter of a second. And then you go, once you hit 1, that'll be 1 second. This image right here that we're looking at is a video of the Atari Pong game in motion. I took this image at 1/400th of a second. Notice how the little ball is totally frozen in time. There's no motion in the image. This right here was shot at 1/25th of a second. And you can start to see the motion in the little pong. Is it the ping or the pong? In the in the little ball right here. This right here was taken at 1/4 or 1/4 of a second, and you can really start to see the trailing of the ball going across the screen. This right here was taken at a full second. So notice how you see the entire motion of the ball. If this were a model that you were shooting, she or he would look like a blur in the image. You can do really cool things when you take pictures of people, especially if you have a flash, where the flash will capture them, but yet they'll have a trail behind them. So there's different ways to show motion, and I'll be happy to make a video talking about how to do that if you're interested. So leave a comment below. Yeah. But basically, the slower your shutter speed, the brighter the image is going to be, but you then have to start dealing with things like motion blur. The final thing I want to talk about is white balance. Because when you present your products on your website, you need to show the true color that the product is going to be. It's good to set up a white piece of paper or something on the first shot so you can get your white balance set. You want it to be true white. Typically, cameras have an auto white balance that works pretty well. But if you want to adjust it manually, you would go into your white balance settings of your camera, wherever that might be, and if you wanted it to be warmer or more yellow, you would increase your white balance number. And if you wanted it to be cooler or more blue, you would decrease that number. Guys, I hope this helps anyone picking up the camera for the first time, taking their own product shots, learning about your gear so you can create what you have in your mind and make it a reality. Quick little plug for myself. I just started a brand called Chelly's, Chelly's.com. I'm going to put that information up on the screen. The store is closed, but the email sign up is live. Would love for you to sign up, join this community. We've got around like 250 people so far. It's just starting. Very excited about it. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions about anything photography, put it in the comments below and I will be sure to answer them as quickly as possible. All right, guys, have an amazing rest of your day, night, whatever it is. Goodbye. Peace.